exam, Kimura? I just got the phone with my mama now. Fucking just chilling.
Were they going to Texas or something?
No, they still at home.
Why? Look at you. Bye.
For me?
No. Just talking to my brother. Oh, shit, I'm tired. I need to wash my scrubs, and I need to do my hair. I don't know what I would need to, I don't know what I want to do to my hair.
What you about to do?
Go home and get ready for work tomorrow.
You just drop your bed off.
Yeah, my brother and my little sister. What you about to do? Keep playing them damn games?
It's bad. Her mom and them home. Nah, like, it's just like so crazy. Like that shit is crazy.
Yes. What's crazy?
Like, fuck. Like, if you want to evacuate anywhere, you should have just evacuated from the get-go. You feel me? Like, why y'all ain't just leave? It ain't a money problem. I know that. Y'all just stubborn. Like, I ain't leaving. But it ain't even about the point of leaving. It's about, you could be chilling right now. You hear me? But now you inside without no fucking power. Like,
So they need to leave.
huh?
So they need to leave.
Yeah, but they got trees in the fucking road.
Oh, damn.
You got roofs in the fucking road. Houses then lift up out the ground.
Oh my goodness. They should have left before.
That's what I'm saying. But like, we got a lot of family out there, and it's not just about her. That's 9 times out of 10 why she didn't leave. But it's not about her, it's about my auntie too. It's about everybody else. It's like, you know, like, they're like the fucking, you know, it's a lot of shit going on.
Couldn't they just all leave all together?
No.
Your whole family? Huh?
No. Got a lot of shit going on.
They have a lot of what?
So we got a lot of shit going on. Then they went to the wrong house. They should have went by my mama's house because that house was just built. But all them on the West Bank where it flood at. So it's like, now they can't get back over here. So it's like, damn, everybody power been out since earlier this morning.
Where were they at?
Backup generators at all of our campuses have actually backup fuel trucks should we be on generator pair.
They were on the
for a
East
while.
Bank or West?
We have had some temporary generator failures, but each of them is being rectified or has been rectified.
In the middle of the city. I just fixed my fucking phone screen.
What up?
Mm-hmm.
So I just fixed my fucking phone
Nah,
screen.
dog. Breeze caught a case 2 months back.
Man, these niggas talking my shit on GTA. This shit blowing me. Keep thinking of me.
GTA.
Yeah, fucking pedestrians keep talking and shit.
I'm tired. I just want to get home. I'm all alone. With no one here beside me. I didn't know that was where you could go.
Nigga got a lot of shit going on.
My gosh, my nose is like itching, like, ugh.
We've been
My eyes
playing
is
with that,
itching.
been playing with that booger sugar, girl. You been playing with that booger sugar, girl. Kimura,
Can't wait to get the fuck up out of Colorado.
what you say?
I'm getting the fuck up out of Colorado for a little.
Where you going now?
Just a few days. I'm going to South Carolina.
What you gonna do out there?
That's where my family's from.
Hmm. I don't know what that is. Fuck, bro. My nigga's bad. To work, boy. Nigga nerves hot. Hot as a motherfucker, boy. Hot as a motherfucker, boy.
Why don't they take a lift to your mom's house then?
What?
Yeah,
You
like
think
if
you think motherfuckers living in a hurricane?
I mean, if their car is stuck there, they can like take around.
Their car ain't stuck. It's just like my uncle house old. So like, and then like, ain't nobody can get the road. Cause like, you know what I'm saying? Some places you gonna be flooding. Some places they might have a big ass tree in the road. They might, then after you get through that tree, they might have a bigger tree. Then after you get through that, it's gonna be flooding. You don't know how deep it is. Then you know, it's just like it's too late. Now you just gonna have to get it up. Like it's not them that need help though. It's the people that's in places that they know flood. It's like you stood in the main wall. You stood in the back of Cambridge. People stuck in their ass, stuck on the top of the roof. Like, yeah, that is.
I got more of a friend vibe from the day.
Everything going in their house. They don't even know where they about to go. They about to just be in the hotels and shit. In hotel and shit. That's how this shit be. Like every 4 or 5 years, we have a stupid ass hurricane. Every yeah, like fucking like see like every year they have a hurricane around my birthday. Like Katrina happened, we was evacuating on my birthday. That shit happened on the 29th. That shit happened
Cute.
today.
It's just not
So,
about
like,
that. Look, I'm just not big.
it's just like
You call it a bitch.
every couple years they have some like shit. Like you might escape 1 year or 2 years, but like
Not a bitch.
you probably that's enough right there. Like 1 year, probably 1 year, and then the next year you gonna at least get like one hurricane. It might not be big, but you gonna get one. Like Florida might get this one. Fucking Mississippi might get the next one. But it's a season. It always happens every year.
That's true.
That's crazy. I don't know how other people feel about that shit and like how other people like, you know, but like, yeah, that's just what it is.
We get tornado warnings, but we don't really have a lot of tornadoes like that.
Shit, let me get a tornado on and I'm getting the fuck out of here.
There used to be a lot when I was younger, like the crazy winter was a lot.
Get your wax on. We're hitting the beach this weekend. We gotta catch up soon, okay?
Is this tornado hazard? I said, is Colorado in tornado hazard?
Hazard. So just something to keep in mind. I know a lot of folks who want to get out and start assessing the damage. You may, for some, want to give it another day or so to allow for crews to start cleaning that up as soon as they can. Because again, the winds will also be settling down. Some of the strongest winds right now across parts of the Florida parishes. Not as much Baton Rouge. It's amazing. This looked at for the longest time as if it was going to track right over Baton Rouge. And then we started to see that bend toward the east. And then even more so as the storm began moving inland. And we saw that center just kind of moving due north. And that's going to be the trend through the overnight and early tomorrow. The wind field will be shrinking through the overnight period. Those maximum sustained winds right near the center are going to be closing in right near the center of the storm, and that will finally get out of here by early tomorrow morning. Some of the official rainfall totals: almost 9 inches recorded at Reserve, 3.15 at Camp, over 3.5 inches downtown. We're closing in on almost 3 inches, 2.7. But look at Slidell again. Slidell, Reserve. It really depended upon where those heavy bands set up. We all saw a good soaking of rain, but it all depends on precisely where those bands set up. Remember, the initial forecast were calling for widespread 10 to 15 inches and localized amounts of 20. We didn't see anything close to that. So thankfully, this wasn't as much of a rain event as it was wind, which we're going to assess tomorrow, and the storm surge that was not only along the coast, but in the lake as well. Here's kind of the steering and the reason why the storm slowed down. What had been steering the storm for so long was that ridge of high pressure that was centered over the Carolinas. That was allowing the storm to continue that motion more toward the northwest. Well, that has weakened and kind of shifted away. What we're waiting for is an upper trough, which is deepening across. Deepening means pushing south across the plains. That will continue to sink south tomorrow. That will then start to pull the circulation associated with Ida and move it out of the area. Winds are still pretty breezy, and out of the south they get a 44 mile an hour wind still sustained at 60 miles an hour. Now they've lost our sensor at hand. This happens all the time. This is the worst parts of a storm start moving, we start losing some of the surface data. Winds are gusting up to 60 miles an hour in Slidell, sustained at 30, so it is still very windy across much of the area. More so on the North Shore as we've started to see things kind of settling down from south to north, but at least the winds have been coming down. The storm surge potential doesn't look like, at least based on some of the initial numbers, that a lot of these verified, as I mentioned. What we saw in kind of real time didn't really show that high of a range in our southern parishes, but we'll kind of reassess that as we get into the day tomorrow. The Weather Service office locally will begin looking at some of the gauges, and we'll have a much better idea of just how high that surge was. But it was certainly high enough that in the lake, it did send a probably massive amount of water.
Bitch, my car already running rough, bitch.
And also the water that was fed up into Barataria was enough to overtop it. Perhaps, again, this is very preliminary data for what's going on in Lower Jefferson Parish, but perhaps some kind of failure
I
of
ain't
the
even
levees
mind no
going
couple.
into Barataria and Jean Lafitte. So
I mean,
that will
this
be
fucking
something
good
that
ass
we'll have
fucking
to take a
chicken
look
that they
at,
cooked yesterday.
through the overnight. It does look like that is a dangerous situation for those folks. River flooding.
Good ass
In
chicken
terms
that they
of
cooked
all of
yesterday.
the impacts that we have seen from this storm, this almost seems minor compared to the flooding and dangerous situation in Laplace, the dangerous situation
folks
in
come
the
back.
Lafitte area. Because for the most part, folks and
Eat on
talking
lunch
to
break.
the residents a lot of times during the spring
I
flood
was
season.
lead the fuck up.
It's
We
been a
talk
minute.
about it and it looks like a major situation, and then you talk to some of these folks and they say, oh yeah, I live by the river, it floods all the time,
lunch
they're
break,
built
I was
up, and
sleep.
they're kind of prepared for these rivers to flood literally every season. And it is a common occurrence during hurricane season. As that water flows in Lake Pontchartrain, it prevents what ends up being a big rain event on the North Shore. It prevents that water from draining
Well, I
back
was
into Lake
sleeping in the back
Pontchartrain,
on the
and so you
desk
do see
for a
several of
whole
those
hour.
rivers literally back up.
I only
They
had a
have nowhere to
45-minute
go,
break.
and so it overflows its banks. And that's what we're looking at, a moderate flood in Franklinton, along Bogachia, Bogafly at Folsom, and then out toward Robert. We have, or excuse me, that's a major flood. I was looking at the moderate, Camp Covington and at Boston Street. And then you have a major flood at Covington, Robert, as well as some of the rivers into Pearl River County, Mississippi. So the flooding of the rivers is probably going to last for a few days. If nothing else, a couple of days before the winds will start to change direction, and we will hopefully then start to see more of a westerly flow, which will then push that water out of the lake. And that will allow those rivers to start draining. So when will things start to improve? It's kind of difficult to say an exact time because it's a very gradual process, but we are improving from south to north. Rain is moving to the north, and that will continue through the overnight period. Winds will be settling through the overnight period, and by midday tomorrow, it is going to be a far quieter day. We might have a little round of rain that moves through during the midday and afternoon hours, but things will be settling down, and by Tuesday it does look to be a far nicer day.
All right, and at this hour, there's still a lot going on. Of course, we're hearing about situations where there are rescues in Laplace, and
I don't know who a nigga think I am, boy.
From WWL-TV, this is continuing coverage of Hurricane Ida.
I'm about to slip this chicken back in the microwave, bitch. You about to get warm today.
11th hour of coverage of Hurricane Ida, and it's not over yet.
No, definitely not over yet, because we're hearing more reports overnight of people that are stranded. We're hearing some levee failures over in Lafitte. Hopefully we'll get Lafitte Mayor Tim Kerner on the phone with us very, very soon, because we want to confirm that. We're hearing about a number of people in Laplace who are experiencing extreme flooding. So while in our area this may have calmed down, this may have settled down, this is still not over for a lot of people within the region.
My sister is in Hammond. She said it's been scary loud there, and they're really seeing the worst of it now. It's still a hurricane, which is hard to believe that after this many hours and this long of a land, it is
crazy,
still a Category 2 hurricane.
Fucking mom,
understand.
crazy.
It has been almost 12
took that
hours since it
G-Ride
made
all over the
landfall,
Colorado.
which is kind of unbelievable.
Yeah.
It was at 11:55 this morning. Yeah.
Fuck the highs.
All right, and at this hour, as it is still going on and unfolding, there's still a lot you need to know.
I'm Zach Talatari, and like you said, here's what you need to know right now. We're following that situation you were just talking about, a terrifying development in Lower Jefferson Parish. The National Weather Service says a levee failed in Lafitte and Jean Lafitte, causing a flash flood. They say 200 people are in, quote, imminent danger. We'll follow this closely and be bringing you updates. President Biden has approved the Louisiana Disaster Declaration, ordering federal aid to help in relief efforts in the areas affected by Hurricane Ida. Assistance can include, among other things, grants for temporary housing and home repairs, and low-cost loans to cover uninsured property losses. A boil water advisory is in effect in St. Anthony Parish. The parish says it's because of widespread power outages, adding that water testing will probably be delayed because of Ida. Boil your water for at least a minute before drinking it, cooking with it, or brushing your teeth. The photos and videos from our viewers continue to come in. This one shows the incredible power of Ida. Watch the roof of Auctioner Medical Center in
I haven't
Jefferson
thought that out
swaying.
yet.
Debris is hitting the 10th floor window, and you see pieces of the roof fly off. A very, very scary situation, to say the least. You can follow our coverage of Hurricane Ida on our website and free WWL TV app.
All right, Zach, thank you. As you mentioned, there is some stuff going on in John Lafitte right now. We are going to talk now with the mayor, Tim Kerner. He is joining us by phone right now. Mayor Kerner, thank you for joining us. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Can you tell us, just in a quick nutshell, what is happening right now? What has been happening in the last few hours where you are?
Well, look, this storm is total devastation to our area. Lafitte, Crown Point,
Yeah, that's what I thought about the last one. Until she tripped the fuck out on me and I almost had to slap her to the next generation.
Surrounded by water.
Yeah, but
thank God there was no water.
I don't know, man. I just be in my own shell, bro.
The wind's
Like,
still pushing it, and we can't
I just be in my own shell. Like, I don't know. Like, you know, I done been through a lot. And then every time, it always proves. Like, why is this shit going on? I need to chill.
It's just too bad to get down to this point.
there's not a captain
What you mean? What you mean?
we haven't been successful.
You gotta realize what you're gonna say. Because I just didn't understand what they bring that up. So that's why I need you to repeat.
A bunch of phone lines.
I said, I don't know, I'm not repeating it.
They're in trouble.
You should.
What was he talking about then? That was off topic.
So we're gonna try.
That's what you just said. It was off topic.
No, I felt like it was. That's why I need you to repeat what you said so I can know. What?
We know that there were some issues with some levees down there. Can you tell us a little bit about what happened and what areas those were in? And if you were able to reach everybody who needs to know that there's a problem there.
Yeah, look, it was heartbreaking because the levee started overtopping. The levee didn't necessarily fail with its structural integrity. It was overtopped. And 40 minutes later, the tide started going down. So all
Shit,
the lower
I'm
grade
gonna piss out this one.
was devastated. We thought we had a real shot at saving the local school, and government buildings, 100 homes in the house.
God damn, I crashed that bitch. No!
4 minutes left of that church. It's a heartbreaking day, but we got a job to do. I want to bring those people.
Very used to storm surge down now. Every time we get something in the Gulf, we get a little bit of storm surge. Can you we don't have any pictures right now to see what it looks like, but can you just describe to us how high is the water? What are we doing with that?
Look, this is the worst storm event in the history of Lafitte. This is the worst one. I've never seen so much.
Happy wife, happy life. Okay, Glenn.
Yeah, I don't know. The wind was so bad all day. I could small.
Did you hear what I said?
Pick up those people and see what the wind is talking. But you can't look like
Happy man, that's the plan. Said happy man, that's the plan.
Still can't hear you.
Reports of injuries
I said happy.
you know about tonight?
Happy man, that's the plan.
Have a happy wife and a happy life.
Sustained 90 to 110 mile-an-hour winds consistently, but then we had other parts of the
What about the man? Every female would be happy. Alright.
You're supposed to bring the
Yeah, what the fuck? Come on.
You build the house, I make it at home.
Our heart certainly goes for you. We're hoping for best for you.
Everybody got it fucked up
over
on
the
like
next few
what
days.
it
I know this is going to be
means
really
to
tough.
be a
So
woman. Like,
thank you so much,
all
Mayor
that
Bernard.
shit.
Is there anything I missed that you wanted to mention or
I
any
ain't got
message that you
time
have
for
for
none of
people
that
today?
shit.
Yeah, look, it's all.
That's why I just told you. Like when I told you. You're like, well, that's what I'm talking for. Like, nigga, I be meaning that shit. Nigga, you know what I mean? Shit, my fucking tell me nothing. I done seen it all. I done seen it all. I done seen it all. Like, it really don't matter. Like, nothing matter. It don't matter if you got racks. It don't matter about none of that. I done seen it.
Worst heats that they're seen, and that there are more than 150 people.
I don't got no regular ass brother.
Right now, conditions
I
are
got
far
my
too
brother
bad.
that
He
had
said
it
not
all.
a captain in the world
Yeah,
can
watch
go in
that
the water
shit.
right now to go rescue them. So
I
we
done
will
seen it
certainly
go
be
through.
thinking of them over the next few days, and also following through on that story to see what happens down there.
The desperation in his voice and just the heartache, and they're only getting a small glimpse of it because it's still dark and it's still underwater, and so it's a desperate situation for sure.
Well, we're also following some breaking news out of Plaquemines Parish. Parish officials there are asking people to evacuate. Candace Charles joining us live now with the latest. This is brand new. And how are they doing so, Candace?
Well, they really are just trying to send out a message to folks right now.
So you're trying to tell me that the happy wife.
Area to get out as soon as they can. Of course, they can't send out search
That's
warrants
like trying to say
right now
like,
at this time.
well,
Quite dangerous.
goddamn, you don't call me no more. It's like, damn, you don't call me either, bitch. The phone work too. Like, what the fuck? That makes sense.
Other areas have also had levees and just had some sandbagging issues. Braithwaite also has some folks that have just been dealing with a lot of water in the area, including pictures and videos of water being in their yards, coming up to their door. Some people said that they had water in their homes. So it's really just been quite a battle down here, of course, as it has been all throughout the state of this Hurricane Ida. And a lot of folks are just waiting to see if they're going to be rescued and get some help. We've been told that emergency crews will be going out at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning to rescue folks. But again, they are asking folks in the Western area to get out now if they can. They will be sending a message as soon as they can. Of course, they're going out as well to try to put some sandbags in the area. It sounds like there's maybe some water heading over Highway 23 at this time as well. So it really kind of is a bad scene out here right now, guys. That's why we've mostly been inside this whole entire time. It really is just not safe to be outside.
That is a serious situation there. Jesuit Bend is an area that has been prone to flooding, but if they're saying people need to get up and get out, that means now. Hopefully, they're able to go sort of, you said they're going door to door?
Not at this time, no. They're actually trying to send a 911 backwards message to folks right now to try to get them out.
God damn! This bitch so hard. I fucking love this car.
Now we have not been told of any search and rescue crews will be going out, as I mentioned. It's just too dangerous to do so. It's just really a difficult situation because it's so late in the night. There are a lot of people that are already sleeping.
And that's the thing that we're hearing from everybody. It's very dangerous. As we've talked to La Paz, we're talking about Lafitte in Plaquemines Parish as well. It seems like, I know that there are some people who do need that assistance. There's no doubt about that. But right now, given the time, it's very dark, power outages that are there, and the water rising, it's too dangerous for a lot of rescue crews to get out to people, which is why you issue those mandatory evacuations.
All right.
More.
Candace, are you getting any idea of power outages? I'm sorry.
Sorry about that. We're thinking of power outages. There are thousands of people that are without power right now. 7,500 people that are without power right now. So that could be most of the units as well. Could be apartments. So there are a lot of people without power. If you walk outside of this building right now, we're in EOC. It's pretty dark outside. So it is pretty difficult to go out and do that.
Have they gotten any idea the extent of the damage down there yet?
Oh no.
I think it's too early to tell. They haven't been really able to go out and kind of check and see where the damage has been at this point. It said that the area is already reaching over to Highway 23, as I mentioned. But it sounds like most of that neighborhood, I guess, with Bend is already getting quite a bit of water.
Another area where they're really just getting hit hard by this now, as we mentioned, it's still a Category 2 hurricane, and it's still hitting people on the North Shore, especially up in Tangipahoa Parish and Hammond.
You know, that's when we find Doug Newtown this evening.
Yeah, hey guys, Ida is hitting the eye wall. We're just on the northeast side of the eye wall of Ida. It is hitting Hammond and it's hitting hard. This is by far the strongest winds that we've seen so far, which is why we have this unique setup here. I'm holding the door open of our hotel and just a tiny bit outside. Adam Nay, our photographer, completely inside, just shooting out. We wanted to give you a picture of what it's like in Hammond right now. Look, this is still a Category 2. All the way up in Hammond, you can hear the wind is howling right there behind me. It is too dangerous for us to step back into this, but it's going strong here in Hammond. Now, about 20 minutes ago, I talked to Parish President Robbie Miller, who said there's a ton of trees down in the parish and trees on homes. But he said for now, they do not have any reports of people injured in the storm, and he wants to keep it that way. But his one message to people is stay put, don't go anywhere, don't try to eat. Even if things slack up for you in the next few hours, stay put and don't go outside until it's daylight in the morning before you check on anything. That's a way to stay safe. It's sound advice probably for everyone in our viewing area. We're going to have plenty of time to pick up the pieces from this. Don't get too anxious and hurt yourself post-storm. That would not be the way to go. Robbie Miller says it'll be a few hours before this storm completely passes through his parish. So they're a long way from out of the woods here in Tangipahoa.
Oh, I'm dead.
It's howling and having
fucking dead.
You heard Chris Franklin a few minutes ago say on the backside of the eye wall in Laplace, they have dried out. Now, we do expect to see that once this completely passes through Hammond. When it does dry out, we'll come back to you and show you that. Hopefully, it's not too far away. We're now reporting live in Hammond, in Tangipahoa Parish. Doug Mouton, Eyewitness News.
Thank you, Doug.
All right, right now you're taking a live look at the Entergy power outages map. And I mean, if you look at that map, you're just seeing a sea of red with only a couple of blurbs of green. And it's really interesting. We talked about this yesterday when this was just nothing but green. Everything was going well. And we said that this was going to be completely different today. And it most certainly does. I don't know if we can pull up. Usually we can pull up by parish. Just how many power outages are within the community.
So it looks like Orleans Parish, 177,000 customers without power. Jefferson, 200,000. Some of the other big numbers, we've got St. John with 19,000, Tangipahoa, 57,000 customers, Terrebonne, 27,000. And those are some of the East Baton Rouge Parish, 132,000 people without power. And Ascension, just under 40,000.
God damn, I'm doing this drifting video, but I just keep running into the fucking wall.
Without power tonight.
Well, I mean, statewide, you've got almost 850,000 customers. Again, that includes, one customer can be a whole apartment building full of people. So you've got the better part of probably a million people in Louisiana without power.
So power outages is something that Entergy, which they talked about this, as Hurricane Ida was approaching, that power outages were going to be a problem, if not for a few days, possibly in some locations for a few weeks. And given what's going on in our area right now with the power outages for the entire city and how it's impacting us, and we could also look at that same situation of not seeing as much power probably for the next couple of days, and so you have to kind of prepare yourself for that, which is why a lot of people did decide to evacuate, considering also that this is, New Orleans, and right now, I don't know what the temperature is right now, but in the 70s and 80s is definitely not feeling the greatest outside.
No, I mean, I think we heard elected officials saying that this was going to be a life-altering event, and for so many people, that is exactly what Hurricane Ida is, and so many of them don't even know it yet. But power is one of those reasons that it is a life-altering event. I mean, there is a chance that this power could be out for a significant period of time. I'm no expert on power restoration, but we did hear from experts or officials from Entergy before this storm even hit. If a Category 4 storm came through, it could take an average of up to 21 days to get power restored. And that's what we've seen. That's what we are still seeing at this hour, even though it's down to a Category 2 storm. But, it was a strong, major hurricane for almost the entire time it was working its way through the city of New Orleans and the real, I guess, city parts of the metro area. There's a good chance that this is going to be a situation we're dealing with for a long period of time.
Well, another area of the city really getting hit hard here is Kenner. And Kenner Benzon is joining us on the phone right now. Mayor, how are you?
I'm good.
All right, we're hearing that the city is seeing a lot of damage, and this is some of the most destruction that you've seen in Kenner in a while. Can you tell us what you're seeing out there, what you guys are experiencing?
It's epic wind damage. We have not we cannot go out for a second yet. Around midnight, we think we're going to get a little bit of a break, so we will go out at that point. We're prepared to send crews out to clear the streets and move the debris as soon as these winds subside. So we'll be able to look at it around midnight, but I think that the crews out until these winds are really gone. So we will.
God damn, I truck that hole.
One of our biggest problems besides that is the water.
Yeah.
I'm not the only person complaining about this, but we get water from Jefferson Parish. I mean, if the parish has a damaged system, which has obviously been damaged, we don't have water. So that's the problem we're facing right now with the fire department, and we get ready to put a post out on social media because we have some reported fires. Maybe they're not really fires, we don't know. We do know that one has been, it's reported that it's at the Escalade area. That's the complex, and we're trying to get out there and see how bad it actually is.
So, I mean, if you get out there and you can't put it out, I mean, what do you do in that situation?
Well, that's the issue, because we cannot put firemen in danger either. I mean, we can't.
Hey, Kimura.
You can't go on, up on a pole.
Call me later.
Put a fireman on
Please settle down this stuff.
an aerial truck or a ladder when 35 feet up in the air and they get blown off. So I mean, there's some things that we can't do to our firemen, and I will not do. But at the same time, we have some issues, and then we don't have water. Now we are prepared to get the pump into when the winds die down, get a pump into canals, get a pump into a pond that's near areas, and a pump from that area to put fires out. Tomorrow, there's the fire department, police department, wastewater crews. We'll have anywhere from 150 to 200 people on the street assessing damage and getting services restored that we can restore as quickly as possible. We're prepared for that. I'm not worried about that. I'm worried about, concerned about no water.
Yeah, I've gotten some phone calls from that area of people saying that they have or asking if the water was out or if my water pressure is extremely low. Do you know what's going on? And I said, I think that there is a situation where Hurricane Ida may have damaged something that may have impacted the water in that area.
Right, and look, I stress, and I would stress this with more of the Black Council, we have some problems here in Center, we don't have to water yesterday damage, and my heart goes back to the feet and Grand Isle. I just heard Shadow Mayor, Timmy Turner on the TV. That's got to do good. We talked about epic wind damage, we talked about epic loss, and we go out, our hearts go out to the guys down there.
Are there any situations in Kenner that may have caught you by surprise, situations outside of the water situation, which obviously could lead to an even more dangerous situation when you give that scenario for firefighters not being able to put out possible fires that could be started by down power lines, that you do have wind damage? Is there anything else that you're seeing or hearing from residents out there?
We're hearing, we're hoping it's rumors, Facebook rumors that we started to blow up the thing more right now is the, flooding that's going on. We don't have reports from us that there's flooding. I don't believe that there is. I hope that there's not. But we checked all these things out. We've heard, that a levee has breached. We have no reports from the parish, nor the East Jefferson levee board that that has happened. I want to call my citizens and say, until you hear from us, it probably does not happen. So if you hear these things, people hear something, it moves quickly. I spoke to the owner of Sheffield Country Club. That is not, it is not on fire. They smelled something and called 911, and then the rumors that just started there. So that is not on fire. So if you're hearing that there's flooding, we have not heard that. We have people that work for us that live in the Grand Lake subdivision. I'm hearing that it's underwater. The street is dry except for the water that is falling from the sky, not water poking out in the street. So I feel that the canal by Grand Lake is overflowing. I talked to people there. It's not happening. So I'm hoping that these things are not happening. I'm not making light of it, but we are confirming or making sure that it's just a rumor, because if it's not, we're going to get somebody out there first thing that we can.
Obviously, you have to confirm everything. You said you'll have someone, you think you're going to try to assess something in about 20 minutes at midnight?
Yeah, I don't have a, if it's 11:40.
Yeah, it's about 11:40.
We get some crews out. Tonight we get some crews out, small crews. We took the restoration crews out from midnight. We're able to send some of the directors, DPO guys, and the fire chief and stuff out with midnight work. When guys that crews out, so that's anywhere from 150 to 200 people when you take in police, fire, all the other crews.
Okay, so all of those people obviously doing what surrounding parishes are trying to do, assist where they can when the daylight happens, assess all of the damage in the morning, and hope that those things that we see running rampant on social media, which it just so happens to travel so fast, people see one thing and it turns into a totally different situation, and they share it on social media and then it spreads like wildfire. So hopefully those rumors are not true and you can pick up the pieces, and the least of the issues that we do have is the water that is not turned on right now.
Right, exactly. And look, I'm not going to wait for daylight. My crews are ready when the wind dies down around 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the morning, because we have lights that we have already purchased that will go out to the streets to give us daylight, man-made daylight. We don't have to wait for daylight. So I'm not waiting for daylight. I'm just waiting for this wind to die down.
Oh, wow. Okay, so you have people already out there moving quicker.
Like, we are prepared. We are definitely prepared to restore any services that we control. I cannot control water, and I cannot control electricity.
All right. Well, hopefully you won't have to run into that much damage. This is Mayor Benzon talking to us. Kenner, I know that you have a water situation, and I know that you definitely want to get everyone in your crews prepared to get out there starting at midnight. Thank you so much for speaking with us, and hopefully we can check back in with you. We're going to be running all night long to figure out exactly the extent of the damage in Kenner.
Absolutely. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Kenner and so many of those areas on the west side of Jefferson Parish really took a beating from the side of the eye wall that we really didn't expect was going to go through that area. We thought that would be far away from, not really far away, but I guess closer to Baton Rouge.
Yeah, we thought that it wouldn't have that much damage, at least some of that damage. And it's really interesting how in the region we have two different mayors of two different places, and you have some people who are complaining, of course, of wind damage, and just to hear again in the feet and in the cause, the water damage, the overtopping of the levee, the people who are having to be rescued, or making calls to be rescued. That's still a situation that's going to reach our minds throughout the night.
Well, there's such a difference in tone from even 12 hours ago when we were bracing for this storm and there was so much anxiety, and you could feel that in everyone's energy and in everyone's voice that there was a lot of unknowns, there was a lot of, hoping that everyone was prepared. And now, at least with these last two mayors that we've spoken with, you can really feel the tension in their voice and how stressed they are, and also how much heartbreak there is out there tonight, and how much we know is going to come with daylight in the morning.
It's just the beginning of trying to figure out how much damage the storm has done. And the situation is still ongoing. There are still rescues happening or people waiting to be rescued. And of course, Devin spoke a little while ago with Jacqueline Motard, the president of St. John Parish, where people have reported that they are still trapped in attics because their houses are surrounded by floodwater. Motard said there's only one report that they've received that someone's in an attic, and she said that they have contacted them and that they're talking to them and that they are safe at the moment in the attic. that they're planning to get to them as soon as conditions allow responders to get to them.
There's such a disconnect from what we are seeing online. I'm scrolling through Twitter right now. There is now a Google Doc of addresses of people who are looking for help, people begging to send boats in because right now the St. John Parish first responders are not on the road. They are not doing rescues. At least they were not whenever we spoke with them about 30 minutes ago. They said until it was safe to do so, they were staying put. So I'm eager to find out what we're gonna hear in the morning, but also really thinking of those people.
So even hearing from Mayor John, I mean, what we might find out just kind of overnight, because I think that they're anxiously waiting to get out there. And they said, you heard it there, he's not waiting for daylight. He's just waiting for the winds to calm down. And the winds have calmed down. You were listening to it earlier in this area. It was really kind of beating this building up. And we've seen Tom Fung driving around in the Mobile Forecast Center. And we've seen things have pretty much calmed down in our area, but you're thinking about, 20, 25 minutes. And it's still picking up and still very strong. So this storm, though it has gone past us, it is still impacting a lot of people in our region.
Absolutely. I mean, my sister just texted me. She lives in Hammond, and she said that the winds from Ida just blew her bolted front door open. It's a double door, and it blew it right open. So that's how strong this storm still is, and that's the impact that people are feeling in a lot of parts of our area. So it's far from over.
All right, I think the time now is at 11:46. We have been covering this for you all morning and all night long, and this storm is, of course, bringing national attention. CBS News correspondent Michael George has been in the area tonight and brings us this report.
New Orleans is dark tonight. 100% of the city has lost power, which is making things even more difficult for the residents and the emergency responders as they're dealing with flooding, powerful winds, and damage throughout the region.
Ida is wreaking havoc on large parts of the Gulf. The extremely dangerous hurricane made landfall in Louisiana Sunday as a Category 4 and kept on going.
As predicted by the National Weather Service, this is one of the strongest storms to make landfall here in New Orleans.
The monster storm is dumping torrential rains, causing flash flooding and generating winds strong enough to take the side off this building in Lockport, Louisiana. This is Ida as seen from space. Down here on Earth, it's knocked out power from hundreds of thousands, and the storm surge could be life-threatening. President Biden visited Phoenix in Washington.
Why are you doing this on
dispatch emergency services and supplies.
Devastating hurricane. A life-threatening storm.
During New Orleans beach quarter, where powerful winds and rain have been hitting this area non-stop since noon. The problem now, the rain is getting more and more intense, and reports of flooding are increasing.
This New Orleans resident lives in a home that had helped rebuild after Hurricane Katrina devastated the area exactly 16 years ago.
Supposedly bolted all the way from the, ceiling down to the beam, so it's got room to sway in the wind.
Louisiana resident Rick Evans evacuated to Houston before Ida. Those riding out the storm.
And we're reporting from a covered parking garage, which is giving us some protection against the elements. But even from here, we've seen the rain intensify hour after hour. It's definitely going to be a long night for people in this region. Back to you.
It's going to be a long night, and a long few days, possibly for some a long few weeks.
Right. We're going to continue to cover Hurricane Ida after this.
An air conditioner? That could be a $4,400 bill you weren't expecting. Bridge on the Fritz? That could cost you $2,500. Get the First American Home Warranty Plan. And when a covered item breaks, call it quick. That's it. And we'll repair or replace it for you. We have plans that cover air conditioning, most appliances, plus heating, plumbing, electrical systems, and much more. Plans start as low as $25 a month. Why let a major system or appliance breakdown bust your budget or go through the hassle of trying to find trustworthy service people?
Save us thousands of dollars, and I never have water.
Last year alone, you saved your customers over $140 million. Don't wait until it's too late. You're stuck with a huge repair bill.
If you don't have First American warranty, get it.
Call 1-800-653-4313 or visit protectmybudget.com for a free, no-obligation quote. That's 1-800-653-4313.
Termites, locally owned and operated. We've been protecting homes from termites for over 70 years, serving North Shore, South Shore, and the River Parishes. Leave the lights on for termites, and we'll find your termites. Call us today.
This year, and then before you go to bed, you need to go pee beer.
For bodies, maybe your me time could use an upgrade to Massage Envy, where more people go to feel and look better. Massage Envy, keep your body working.
Hi folks, Joe Namath here, and if you're on Medicare, this is of course. You're now entitled to eliminate copay and get dental care,
Before you go to bed, you need to go.
prescription coverage, in-home aid, unlimited transportation, and home-delivered meals, all at no additional cost. Plus, your zip code may have coverage with a good back benefit that adds money back to your Social Security check every month.
I called to get dental, transportation, meals, and a good back benefit. With this virus situation, I called to get everything I'm entitled to. I couldn't believe I was missing out on so many benefits.
With the uncertainty of the virus, you need to get everything you're entitled to. Millions of people have trusted the Medicare coverage helpline. You can too. Call now. It's free.
Call 1-800-300-2017. That's 1-800-300-2017 now. Your local weather experts are tracking Ida. From WWL-TV, this is continuing coverage of Hurricane Ida.
Almost 12 hours into our coverage today, and this emergency, this weather emergency, is still very much ongoing.
Yeah, definitely is, and there is a lot that you still need to know.
I'm Zach Talatari, and here is what you need to know. We're following two levee breaches right now. The National Weather Service says 200 people are stranded in Lafitte and in imminent danger. A levee failed in Lafitte and John Lafitte. The area is now seeing flash flooding. An emergency evacuation order in Plaquemines Parish. Authorities are telling everyone in Jesuit Bend to leave immediately. The levee was breached somewhere between the Oakfield floodgates and the Alliance Refinery. Again, if you are in Jesuit Bend, we're being told to evacuate immediately. The Louisiana National Guard is activated and ready to help in Ida recovery. The Guard tweeting out that they have activated 4,000 guardsmen, staged 195 high water vehicles, 73 rescue boats, and 34 helicopters. FEMA teams are at the ready for after the storm. In a visit to FEMA headquarters in Washington, D.C., President Biden said his administration has prepared resources, including equipment and response teams that will be needed after Hurricane Ida passes. This was earlier today in Lafayette as those urban search. And now we're going to go to Chris out in the field here. We're going to toss to him right now. Chris?
The storm center has been wasn't, but I can go. Oh, sweet mother of all that is good and decent.
How does he do it?
Everybody got booze.
Amazing.
Devin. All right, let's take a look. I'm on now. Hello? All right, am I good? Got recording radio, doing this. It was a little tap dance number. All right, let's take a look. You know, we have to have a little bit of levity. It's a very serious situation for many folks. And as we've been saying, this is going to be something that, again, one of those very much like Katrina. It'll be kind of a before and after. Everything before Ida and after Ida. Now, again, with that said, this is not a Katrina. Now, we have had, obviously, we will assess during the daylight hours of just how bad the storm was. But we are looking at some of the heaviest rainfall now across Livingston, St. Helena, and Tangier Parish, as what is still, we're waiting for the midnight update to come in. What is at the moment still a Category 2 with some very strong winds, very heavy rainfall, now pushing across from Hammond up toward Amite and continuing up toward Kentwood. So really all of Tangier Parish right now getting in on some of the heaviest of the rainfall, whereas you've been relatively unscathed through the earlier part of the day. And the improving conditions kind of starting from the south and moving to the north, but right now the North Shore getting hammered by some of the heavier rain. Now, the rainfall has been weakening by a considerable amount across the South Shore. Still some light to moderate rain even out as you head farther east, but it is improving, and we will continue to see improving conditions. And thankfully, as we have the flooding situation, not only in Laplace, but also down toward Jean Lafitte, we are starting to see the at least rainfall letting up, so we can begin to see some drying out, which again, the storm surge, it doesn't really impact that, but at least if we get some drying of the conditions there from the rain, that does certainly help. So the Jean Lafitte to Lafitte Barrett area under a flood warning and a flood emergency, as well as the Laplace area from the storm surge and an inundation of the heavier rainfall. We've been looking at those kind of bullseyes of 10 to 12 and even some isolated 12 to 15. That had been primarily right over the Laplace area, but notice as the near center of the storm is pushing to the north, you're starting to find parts of Livingston and southern Tangier Parish south of Hammond right now. Let's hope that that swath doesn't continue moving in the direction of Hammond, but it certainly looks like that may continue over the course of the next couple of hours or so. The storm is just moving so slowly. Now, the circulation associated will be dragging that heavy rain shield northward. May still have some bands feeding in across parts of the city and parts of southeast Louisiana during the early morning hours tomorrow, but that will be generally shifting off to the east as we get into the midday afternoon hours, and drying conditions will continue through the afternoon and evening. Might have one little band of rain that moves on through late on Monday. Looks like Tuesday is going to be a far nicer day. As far as the wind field goes, that has been shrinking. Right now, kind of centered more over Livingston, St. Helena, Tangier Parish, and that is lifting to the north. So the overall wind field, tropical storm force winds, which have certainly been sustained and gusting at times, is also lifting up to the north. So we do see improving conditions on the way. That can't be said for everyone right now, but it's certainly getting better. Look at some of the official rainfall totals. 9 inches at Reserve, over 3.5 inches downtown. 2.7 Slidell had already received about 8 inches of rainfall. Here's what water vapor looks like. This is an idea of the steering currents and kind of why we saw the storm slow down today, unfortunately. One thing it was doing is beginning more of a northerly turn, so it was going from a northwest to north, and usually the interaction with land, and if it tries to change direction, we'll usually see the storm kind of slow down a bit. What also helped was the fact that the upper steering from this upper high was now moving away, and what we're waiting on is an upper trough to start deepening south. That's what will pull this circulation northward and finally get it out of here as we continue through tomorrow and into Tuesday. Winds, though, have been sustained and very strong, sustained at 40 miles an hour at Kenner and gusting up to 55. As I mentioned, we lost our observing site in Hammond. Winds sustained at 32 miles an hour and still gusting up to 44. But these values have been coming down, so that is great news. The storm surge potential, I really need to pull this graphic out of the show, because really the storm surge potential, so far from what I could see from some of the preliminary numbers, really didn't verify. We didn't really see that high of a surge. However, even with that said, we did see significant inundation of water inland as that water was piled up along the eastern facing shoreline moving into Lake Pontchartrain. That's what sent the flood waters into the La Paz area. Then as the storm continued to move to the north, we started to see those flood waters getting pushed into southern Tangier Parish and then eventually into Livingston Parish. So the inundation is still there, and we have heard from the inundation of water down in Lower Jefferson and what it has done for points around Lafitte, Barretaria, and Jean Lafitte. Those are areas that will now need, as we've heard from Mayor Kerner, rescuing once they can get out there safely. A lot of folks need to be rescued in the LaPlace area once again until they can get out there safely. We heard from Mayor Benzon and Kenner. Nobody's stranded, but they're trying to assess certain reports of damage that they've received, but they cannot go out there until conditions improve. And thankfully, they had said at probably around midnight, they would be able to start sending out crews in Kenner. And again, there is no stranded residents of Kenner. The flooding on the North Shore, almost in terms of everything that we've been dealing with, is a little bit more on the lower end, but still significant as that water is piled up in Lake Pontchartrain. The rivers on the North Shore have nowhere to drain, and we are still expecting a fairly significant amount of rainfall accumulation through the overnight and really not ending until closer to daybreak tomorrow morning. So they have another several hours to go of heavy rainfall, and that water just cannot drain. So we're expecting many locations along the river to reach either moderate or major flooding. So when will things start to improve? They already have for folks along the coastline and into the city. Winds are still strong, but they have been settling. Rain moving north through the overnight. It's on the North Shore now. We'll continue pushing into southwestern Mississippi. Winds have been settling and will continue to do so overnight, and it will be a much quieter day on Monday. So we are seeing that improvement begin. It is a slow process, and I wish this storm would move at a faster clip, and it just has not been doing that. So this is the midnight update, I believe, that has come in. So let's take a look at what the new information is at least down to a Category 1. So that is at least a little bit of good news as we start Monday and now leave August 29th behind us, which for us, a day which will live in infamy. Winds are down to 85 miles an hour. The motion is now due north at 9 miles an hour, and we have continued to see that pressure increase. So the storm is weakening. We're not finding that wind field nearly as large as it was, still very strong. And again, for a time, we had a Category 2 hurricane moving into basically Hammond. It's absolutely incredible, and it's just amazing that this storm has been so slow to weaken, despite the fact that it made landfall over 12 hours ago. It is unbelievable that we are still dealing with a Category 1 hurricane. Thankfully, it has weakened some, but we are still dealing with a Category 1 hurricane even this far after the landfall earlier today. This again, conditions are starting to improve for many, at least in terms of the immediate impacts from the storms, wind and rain. The surge always takes much longer to recede, and of course with the power outages, that may be something that has to that will be dealt with for a much longer period of time.
From WWL-TV, this is continuing coverage of Hurricane Ida.
Thank you for joining us for our continuing coverage of Hurricane Ida. This storm is, of course, bringing national attention. I'm Sheba Turk, and thank you for joining us. We are replacing our overnight crew now.
That's right. Good morning, Sheba. I'm Leslie Spoon, and CBS News correspondent Omar Villafranca has been in the area tonight and brings us a report.
Ida is slamming southeast Louisiana, packing triple-digit high winds and torrential rain. The Category 4 hurricane made landfall midday near Port Fourchon. 40 people decided to ride out the storm in Grand Isle, defying a mandatory evacuation order. Officials have received multiple calls for rescues.
Obviously, first responders cannot get to you, so those folks are just going to have to hunker down.
This morning, hurricane hunters flew their plane into the eye of the storm and caught this stunning picture of Ida building up strength. On the streets of New Orleans, last-minute preps came down to the wire.
I'm just afraid that there's going to be another
16 years to the day after Katrina's devastation, Mayor LaToya Cantrell says her city is ready.
Now is the time that we have been preparing for.
Ida is the first stress test of $14 billion in upgrades to the levee system.
Will it be tested? Yes. But it was built for this moment.
Here on the south shore of Lake Pontchartrain, we are seeing heavy winds and waves that are already splashing over the wall.
The threat from Ida's wind, rain, and storm surge is significant.
We're projected to potentially reach 15 to 20 inches of rain over the period of today and into tomorrow, at times exceeding a rainfall rate of 3 inches per hour.
And conditions are expected to worsen with nightfall.
And we're gonna ride it out. We'll see what happens.
Once the storm passes, there's another concern: the pandemic. The city is considering opening up the convention center for a shelter, but they're worried about spreading COVID. Omar Villafranca, CBS News, New Orleans.
Hurricane Ida is still dumping rain across southeast Louisiana. We've recently been getting reports of evacuations in certain areas. Here's Jade Cunningham with some things you need to know at this hour.
12:04, and here is a look at what you need to know as Hurricane Ida is causing several emergencies. The National Weather Service says more than 200 people are stranded in Lafitte and John Lafitte. They are in imminent danger after a levee failed, and everyone is being asked to seek higher ground. The area is currently seeing flash flooding. An emergency evacuation order has been issued for parts of Plaquemines Parish. Authorities are telling everyone in Jesuit Bend to leave immediately. A levee was breached somewhere between the Oakfield floodgates and the Alliance refinery. If you are there, if you are in Jesuit Bend, you are being told to evacuate immediately. And now let's take a look at the boil water advisories currently in effect. The entire east bank of Jefferson Parish needs to boil their water due to a loss of pressure. Meanwhile, in St. Charles Parish, a precautionary boil water advisory is in effect for the entire parish due to a number of leaks in the system. All St. Tammany utility customers need to boil their water in St. Tammany as well. And in Terrebonne, everyone east and south of the Gulf Intracoastal Waterway need to boil their water. Well, you can follow our coverage of Hurricane Ida on our website and our WWL TV mobile app. Back to you guys.
Yeah, look.
All right, thanks, Jay. We're taking a look at radar now.
Hold on, this is my daddy
saying that conditions would begin to improve for some. It's a very slow process,
Hello?
unfortunately, but we are beginning to see that improvement from the south to the north. Already, we have seen a fairly long stretch of dry weather down the coastline that has now pushed into the city. Still some light to moderate rain, but certainly not the intensity that we've seen for most of the day today. Now, unfortunately, that heavy rainfall is moving into portions of the North Shore. Thankfully, as the midnight update, I'm going to take any good news I can at this point. It is down to a Category 1. Winds are at 85 miles an hour. The motion still slow to the north at 9 miles an hour, but I will take any kind of a motion north as opposed to it just stalling out. Pressure continues to rise. So the storm is weakening, but the storm still packs quite a punch. Some of the heaviest rainfall now moving across most of Tangipahoa Parish. It does look like the heaviest of it is starting to clear the extreme southern portion of the parish, but the bulk of that rain covers most of the parish.
What grade was talking about?
Doug Mouton in Hammond, and the winds were very strong at his location. The wind's not as strong as you get farther away from the storm, obviously, but certainly still gusting fairly brisk across St. Tammany, Washington Parish, and then as far as the Mississippi counties go, we have seen already numerous tornado warnings. Now, most of them are issued for a few minutes. They kind of move in and out very, very quickly, as most of the storms kind of rotating around the storm, rotating around Ida, are moving at about 40, 50. At one point earlier this evening, it was moving at 70 miles per hour. By the time the warning is issued, that storm is already on top of you and moving past. So any of the tornado warnings, and we do have one that has been issued, are almost moving in so quick you can't get to them all in time. We're finally starting to see the heavier rainfall abate across the city, and again, the flooding issue in La Place and the Surge, as well as the flooding issue in Jean Lafitte and Lafitte, is going to be ongoing through the overnight period, but at least the rainfall there has started to subside. The water, though, unfortunately, at least based on an earlier phone call from Mayor Tim Kerner, is that it is not rising anymore, but it is certainly not retreating yet. Some of the rainfall totals, these are the estimates based on radar. Look at some of the greatest amounts that we saw. Remember earlier forecasts were calling for about 10 to 15 inches over a more widespread area. That did not happen. Thankfully, blessedly, it was mainly a 6 to 8 with a few more areas of 8 to 10 inches. While significant, the rain really wasn't the big player in this storm. Certainly, we have some high amounts that are now around the La Place area. This, coupled with the storm surges, what led to the flooding issue, and we have seen some of these higher totals starting to approach parts of Tangier Hope Parish, but the rain was not the big issue. It was the wind and the storm surge, and that affected many locations, not just along the coastline, but as we saw in Laplace. So the rainfall continues to move out. We'll still likely see some bands, and this high-resolution model usually does kind of over-exaggerate the intensity of the rain, but certainly some bands are still possible. Depends upon exactly where they set up during the early morning hours, but certainly by the midday and afternoon tomorrow, most of the heavy rain will be pushing off toward Mississippi, Alabama, and Florida. And in fact, they have a flood concern along the Florida beaches. Another little band of showers kind of around the wraparound moisture from Ida may be passing through tomorrow, but tomorrow, Tuesday, conditions will
I'm listening to this music.
The maximum sustained winds. That wind field is now finally collapsing, and we really should see the winds settle far more after daybreak across certainly the metro area, but even on the North Shore throughout the early morning hours. The official rainfall totals, we were looking at some of the estimates, we can definitely verify that almost 9 inches at Reserve, over 3.5 inches downtown. Slidell, again, it really depends upon where those bands set up. Obviously the Reserve number is because they were so close to the center of the storm, but this Slidell number of almost 8 inches was because they had that training of rain, which thankfully was not as widespread of an issue as it could have been. On water vapor, the upper steering, why did the storm slow down? The upper high started to weaken, and we are waiting for the upper trough, so the storm almost came to a crawl. By tomorrow, as that trough deepens farther south, that will pull that remnant moisture and remnant circulation of Ida and start moving it away and out of the area. Winds are still pretty strong though, gusting at 55 miles an hour, sustained at 40 at Kenner right now. And considering that the storm is though not too far away, it's not a surprise that the winds are still pretty brisk there, but we are not again looking at the sustained winds that we saw all day today. Still very brisk at Slidell and Bogalusa, but all of these numbers have been coming down. The surge that we did see across most of the area was mainly into the lake that moved into the southwestern part of Lake Pontchartrain and then flooded the river parishes, as well as the surge that we saw in Barataria Bay that made its way up into lower Jefferson and then flooded Lafitte, Jean Lafitte, Barataria. So those are kind of the concern areas with the surge, but also the surge leads to river flooding on the North Shore because the water cannot drain into the lake. The surge and the wind is kind of pushing that water back up those rivers, and with the intensity or the expected intense rainfall for the overnight period, that's how these forecasts are created. We look at the rainfall accumulation expected, and with that rainfall, that water cannot drain. So that is going to back up the rivers, and with the new forecast out, we have seen more locations reaching either moderate or major flood status. Doesn't look like any will be getting to near record stages, but certainly capable of flooding their banks. So we will see the weather continuing through the overnight period. We are now at midnight, starting the new day, and conditions will be improving all day today. Through again, from south to the north. Right now, the worst of it is on the North Shore. Rain will be moving through and coming to an end during the overnight hours. Winds will be also settling during the overnight, and we are looking at a much quieter midday afternoon. In the next 12 hours, conditions will be getting better. We'll be getting better by this evening and improving as we continue through this coming week.
All right, thank you very much, Chris. We appreciate that update. We want to get an update now from Entergy. As you can take a look at this outage map, the big story there, all of Orleans Parish does not have power right now. And of course, Entergy sent out an update explaining that all 8 transmission lines that deliver power to the New Orleans area are currently out of service. So when this occurred, it caused a load imbalance in the area that resulted in generation in the area coming offline. And this is a statement I'm reading from Entergy. They are currently working to assess the damage and figure out how to restore power. They have provided backup power, though, to the Sewage and Water Board. But of course, Orleans Parish is not the only area dealing with outages right now, so let's take a look at some of those other numbers we're seeing in the area. In Orleans Parish, over 170,000 outages. Jefferson Parish, 200,000. Lots of outages across the area. Lafourche, more than 40,000. Yeah, and as you see there at the very bottom, 846,000 Entergy customers without service, at least 846,000. Just look at all the red. I don't see any green, just a little bit of green. That's just absolutely unbelievable. But with the wind being one of the huge factors, as Chris was just mentioning, I mean, it's definitely not a surprise. But a lot of people without power. Entergy does have crews here ready to get out there. We're looking at the North Shore now. Calico, there's crews standing by everywhere. But the question is, when is it going to be safe for them to go out and assess and start working? And of course, it's 12:14, the middle of the night, so they're also going to need the daylight to work too. Definitely is. And again, as Entergy said, all 8 transmission lines that deliver power out of service. So this is a bigger issue than them just going out on the street and turning the power back on. We'll try to speak with Entergy as soon as possible to get more details on that situation. But again, more than 800,000 customers, Entergy customers in the state without service. And we just wonder, I mean, how long could the entire city of New Orleans be without power? Definitely, especially with those transmission lines down. All right, guys, buildings across the metro area, of course, saw damage from Hurricane Ida that did make landfall as a 4. We heard from Ochsner Health CEO and President Warner Thomas about damage to those facilities.
So we just give you, we thought just given kind of what's been going on today, you know, we also know there's a lot of information out there, some of it true, some of it not true. So we wanted to make sure we could give you the true information, what's happening. You know, we've obviously been sustaining various damage at our facilities, you know, throughout the day, just like, you know, lots of places, roof damage, water leaks. You know, we have, you know, gone to backup generation power in, you know, the Bayou, Baton Rouge, New Orleans, North Shore, etc. You know, no, I wouldn't say any, you know, massive issues, but certainly some issues to the point where we will have to, and Mike, we can, you know, dig into this a little bit, but our St. Anne facility, sometime overnight when the winds die down, we'll probably start moving some patients out of our St. Anne's facility. We're also still assessing our Chavert facility in Houma. We may have to move some patients out of our Chavert facility. So we are, you know, watching that carefully. You know, part of that's due to roof damage at St. Anne's and some roof damage and power issues at our Chavert facility. You know, we have had, you know, I'm sure you're hearing this a lot of places, you know, water, you know, with the city water and whatnot being issues, you know, we've had to move to our well water, as we talked about earlier. You know, we drilled wells at many of these facilities, so we have well water. So we've done that here at Ochsner Medical Center and Jefferson Highway. We have had a generator, you know, one generator issue at Kenner, which we're working through. Our team is out there assessing it, working through. So these are, you know, things that happen as we're going through these types of storms. But I will say the sustained duration of this and the length of the wind has, or the duration of the wind has created more roof and other damage than, you know, we've seen in some of our previous storms.
Oh, and we want to take a look at video here. This is just showing the incredible power of Ida. The roof is being torn off of Brent House. This is the hotel attached to Ochsner's main campus. Usually it's where relatives of patients stay, and I can't imagine how frightening that is if you're stagnant there. Especially, I mean, just think of the ongoing pandemic. There's so many patients in hospitals, and that's a place where, you know, you generally think, I'm going to be safe here. I'm at the hospital, and then looking out the window and seeing that, you're already terrified because you have COVID or because you're in the hospital for something, and then you're living through a hurricane too. I just can't even imagine these people.
Yeah, that just goes to show you how strong those winds were.
Yeah. And due to this, there's a lot of boil water advisories. Jefferson Parish entire East Bank because of loss of pressure. And then St. Charles Parish, there's a precautionary boil advisory for the entire parish due to the number of leaks in the system. And St. Tammany, all Tammany utility customers, they're under a boil water advisory. Terrebonne east and south of the Gulf Intercoastal Waterway. And the mayor of Kenner, Ben Zahn, says that crews are going out any moment to assess damage. We actually spoke with him just a few minutes ago.
It's epic wind damage. We have not we cannot go out to assess it yet. Around midnight, we think we're going to get a little bit of a break, so we will go out at that point. We're prepared to send crews out to clear the streets, remove the debris as soon as these winds subside. So we'll be able to look at it around midnight but I can't get the crews out until these winds are really gone. So we will do that as quickly as possible. One of our biggest problems besides that is no water.
Yeah.
And I know I'm not the only person complaining about this, but we get water from Destin Parish. I mean, if the parish has a damaged system, which has obviously been damaged, we don't have water. So that's the problem we're facing right now with Kenner Fire Department, and we're getting ready to put a post out on social media because we have some reported fires. Maybe they're not really fires. We don't know.
Yeah.
We do know that one has done, it's reported that it's at the Esplanade area. That's an apartment complex, and we're trying to get out there to see how bad it actually is.
So, I mean, if
But
you
we
get
will-
out there and you can't put it out, I mean, what do you do in that situation?
Well, that's the issue, because we cannot put firemen in danger either. I mean, we can't, just like TTG can't go on, up on a pole, we can't put a fireman on an aerial truck or a ladder when 35 feet up in the air and they get blown off. So, I mean, there's some things that we can't do to our firemen and I will not do, but at the same time, we have some issues. And then we don't have water. Now, we are prepared to get the pump into, when the winds die down, get a pump into canals, get a pump into a pond that's near areas, and pump from that area and put water and put fires out. Tomorrow, though, with Kenner Fire Department, our FERT team, our police department, our wastewater crews, we'll have anywhere from 150 to 200 people on the street assessing damage and getting services restored that we can restore as quickly as possible. We're prepared for that. I'm not worried about that. I'm worried about, concerned about no water.
All right, guys, and you heard it there, speaking with Kenner Mayor Benzon. That was our Sharice Gibson speaking with him earlier, saying epic wind damage in Kenner. He also spoke about some reported fires, but said that it was very clear they weren't able to confirm those yet. I actually have a friend living in Kenner who tells me that the siding was completely torn off of her home. They're getting water in through the windows and the front door. Of course, this happened late last night when it was dark, Leslie. So it really is going to be interesting. We're in the midnight hours now to see what the city and all parts of the area look like when we start to get to daybreak.
Absolutely. And Plaquemines Parish government, they're asking people in Jesuit Bend to evacuate. Emergency crews trying to do 911 calls to let everyone know they need to evacuate as soon as possible from Oakfield floodgates to Alliance Water. It's breaching a levee in the area. Emergency crews are headed out to rescue people trapped in their homes. Plaquemines Parish government, they do have a tweet out right now that does say evacuate. Seek higher ground immediately. If you live in the Braithwaite area between Parish Line and White Ditch on the East Bank, seek higher ground immediately. We've received reports of the levee overtopping at White Ditch. Let's go more to their Twitter here. And I know we have Candace Charles out there. We're trying to get her. We don't have any reporters at the moment because, of course, everybody's trying to assess the situation and figure out what's going on there, and everybody's trying to stay safe as well. So let me just try to
definitely. And again, this is for the Jesuit Bend area. They're urging everyone in that area to evacuate. So if you're there, they're telling you they need you to seek higher ground immediately. All right, let's get to the next story. The National Weather Service says a levee failed in Lafitte and Jean Lafitte, causing a flash flood. They say 200 people are in, quote, imminent danger.
200 people. Can you imagine, Sheba?
Yeah, absolutely unbelievable. All right, do we have sound from President Biden on that declaration? Okay.
Okay, let's see here. And we did talk to Tim Kern earlier, and he said just complete devastation in Jean Lafitte. Complete devastation.
All right, well, let's get over to Peyton and see the latest with the storm right now, because this is the thing, it's not over yet, Peyton. All the impacts we're seeing, we're still getting winds, still getting these storm surge issues.
Yeah, exactly. And things are really improving here on the South Shore. Now, it's not going to be perfect. These are going to be slow improvements as we go through today, but you can see there as Ida lifts to the north now, it is still a Category 1 hurricane, so it is continuing that weakening trend, but it's still producing some wind gusts occasionally, and those could very well be over the 80-mile, 90-mile-per-hour mile-per-hour wind range as this lifts up to the north. So the center is going to be around kind of in Livingston Parish, so that puts a lot of this eastern part of the system in southeast Louisiana for Tangipahoa Parish, still getting hammered with rainfall across the entire North Shore. Notice on the South Shore, while we still have the strong gusty winds, they're not nearly as strong as they were even a couple of hours ago, and we're not seeing nearly as much rainfall. So that rainfall problem is no longer really an issue down here on the South Shore. It's more so we're watching that flooding potential with regard to storm surge, river flooding from the rainfall that is being produced here on the east side of Ida. So as of midnight, it is an 85-mile-per-hour hurricane, gusting to 125. North movement is at, 9 miles an hour. So it has, of course, it did slow down yesterday. It's still moving. This thing has not stalled, but 9 miles an hour, it's just going to take its time making its way through the area. And it's basically going to travel right up I-55 here and head up towards Jackson by later on this afternoon. So we're still getting pummeled with rain and wind and surge in South Mississippi as well, and in the lake. So really from the lake going up to the North Shore, we are looking at quite a bit of rainfall still falling across the area, and that's just how it's going to be through the rest of the overnight hours. It's just after midnight here, so really through the rest of the overnight hours, we're going to be dealing with this rain and the wind coming out of the south here. So that is one of the issues here with the surge on the North Shore. Now, with the southerly wind, the water is going to stay elevated for all areas along our coast. The water's not going to go down all the way. Now, it's not as high as it was as the eye initially passed over parts of Lafourche and into up in the river parishes, but overall, the surge problem will start to diminish here south of the lake. And of course, over in LaPlace, where we were originally getting the water coming into the lake here and coming off the lake, coming into St. John Parish, that has now flipped over to where you have more of a southerly wind, so hopefully pulling out some of that water into the lake, but it's also now pushing it more on the North Shore. So our rivers are starting to rise on the North Shore. They will continue to rise through this morning, and our flooding threat is certainly significantly higher now in the rivers up on the North Shore. And so we're going to have a more detailed look on the rivers and that type of flooding in a couple minutes. But we're still seeing some pretty strong wind gusts as well. It is certainly not calm in New Orleans. We're still gusting to 55. Unfortunately, of course, we have lost all of our sites down here in the bayou parishes and down along the coast because of the significant winds. They have knocked out our anemometers. Those are the things that spin and give us our wind readings. So we don't really have a good idea, but the winds are still a little gusty down here. Could be gusting 30, 40 miles per hour down for Houma and Thibodeau. It is certainly not calm, but it is not nearly as bad as it was as the eye was moving on through and we were seeing 100+ mile-per-hour winds. So in New Orleans, as I mentioned, 50s to 40s is what our gusts are. We're still gusting to 58 in reserve. Baton Rouge is gusting to nearly 40 with more of a northerly wind. And then, yes, you've got your southerly wind on the North Shore, still pushing up some of that water. Gusting to 44 in Slidell, and probably gusting to the 40s and 50s near Hammond and going up into Covington. I'll try to see if we have any more sites up here I can turn on, but we lost our Hammond site as well, so it's not really reporting any winds. But notice even Grand Isle down here, we're got the southerly winds. That's still pushing them waters. That means water's still going to be high down here all the way through Plaquemines Parish on the west bank. The east bank, as long as water is flowing this way, it's flowing away from the parish here, but then moving up into parts of St. Bernard. Also up into the Hopedale Shell Beach area, water is now flowing into Lake Bourne up to the Mississippi coast. So Mississippi coast, your water is going to stay high through the rest of this morning as well. You're not going to see a tremendous amount of relief from that strong southerly flow. So water is still going to be high through the rest of the night in most of our areas north of the lake, near the coast, and over in Mississippi. In New Orleans itself, the water is now being pushed away. The same thing for the river parishes. So hopefully after, the rough evening hours where we were seeing the water just pushed into St. John and the significant water rise there, we're now seeing it more so on the North Shore. And that will continue to be the case through today. So the track of Ida, I say through today, through the overnight period and into the morning hours. So the track of Ida, we still got a Category 1 hurricane. It will continue to slowly weaken as it makes its way slowly to the north, and then it starts to make that northerly to northeast jog by later on this afternoon. So by 7 a.m. it'll be just north of Macomb, or it'll be near Macomb by 7 a.m. So we still got 7 more hours before the center of this thing ever really gets north of the border of Louisiana and Mississippi. Up towards Jackson as we go into this evening, and then it will eventually be on out of the area, and we'll start to see significantly less impacts across the area by later this afternoon into tonight. So we still got a ways to go, and I say this afternoon, we're talking maybe 24 hours from now before it is really up around well to our north. So, or at least 12 hours before it's well to our north. So let me show you, kind of walk you through on what we could see with this. I'm going to have to step off screen here while I get my computer up and running so I can control the timeline here for you. And you can see we still have the bands of rainfall. We still have the center up there, kind of in the Livingston Parish area. Lots of heavy rainfall continuing through parts of St. Tammany, Tangipahoa, and Washington parishes. It's also going to stay gusty. At times, you could definitely feel wind gusts that are enough to, if you haven't lost power, which most people have at this point, they're probably watching us on their phone or on a computer somewhere, you could definitely see some wind gusts over 60 to 70 miles per hour through the rest of the overnight and morning hours. Now, as we go through the rest of the morning, what we're going to be watching is that heaviest rain near the east side of the center lift up to the north, but also we're going to have to keep an eye on any of this kind of trailing moisture. Notice how it almost looks like there's a tail on this thing, and that's pretty common. Usually you get these tails, and we'll call it like a feeder. It's feeding up into this. It's moisture coming in on the south side, and you'll often get these bands of rain that can develop, and where those do develop, you can get additional very heavy rainfall that can lead to flash flooding. So we'll have to keep an eye on that as we go through the rest of the overnight hours and into tomorrow. Now, as we head into tomorrow morning, this is around sunrise, or this coming morning around sunrise, 6, 7 o'clock. So in the next 6 to 7 hours, the wind should really start to improve across a lot of the area. We're still going to see some wind gusts 30 to 40 miles per hour through the rest of tonight. No doubt about it. We're still going to see gusty winds through tomorrow morning, 30 to 40 miles per hour, but it's going to be much less significant than what it was even an hour before right now. There you can see, still got the rainfall, still getting pummeled in Mississippi. So Mississippi still got a long ways to go with this. The center as of 7 a.m. is probably going to be up around Macomb somewhere. And then we continue to see this go out in motion here. This is getting closer to the lunchtime hour on Monday. So we're looking at about 12 hours from now. We should start to see significant improvements with regard to wind and widespread rain. But there is still going to be some rain around. This is not going to be a completely, clear Monday. It's going to be a humid Monday. No one has power. It's still going to be pretty warm in the 80s. It's going to feel hotter because of the humidity, but there is still going to be quite a breeze out of the south west. So you can imagine all of our North Shore is still going to be dealing with really elevated rivers, and our rivers are going to stay pretty high, not only today, but likely tomorrow. It's going to take some time for these rivers to drain into the lake, because it's going to take some time for the lake to drain back out into the sounds, and then the sounds to go on down and everything return to normal. That's going to take a couple days here because we have a southerly wind. That southerly wind is keeping the water high, and that means that's not going to be changing anytime soon. Fortunately, this isn't the case for everyone. We have such a detailed and the wind field really matters here on what you're seeing and your location. And what I'm trying to say here is your geography matters. So if you're in the river parishes, for example, your winds are going to be pushing away from and into the lake. So that means the water that has come on in will start to hopefully push into the lake. Now, it's not going to be a fast process because the lake is still pretty high, but at least we're not seeing those winds push inland. Now they're going to start to push into the lake for the river parishes. Not going to be the case for the North Shore. South Shore, the winds are going to be pushing away from the South Shore. So we shouldn't see any significant water rise on the South Shore for this duration of the event. It's going to be mainly north of the lake. Mississippi coast, as I mentioned, you're just going to continue to get the southerly wind. And then by this afternoon or Monday afternoon going into Monday evening, I think we'll start to see dramatic improvements across the area. So the wind field, it is there. We're still getting potentially hurricane force winds, mainly on the North Shore. No more hurricane force winds on the South Shore. And then there you can see there's the wind from the yellow to the orange. Are going to be your tropical storm force winds lifting to the north. That'll continue to move into Mississippi. And then once we get into this afternoon, most people are below tropical storm force winds. So our rivers are continuing to rise. And I'm going to have to go in and look at the latest data here as they do rise. And this is thanks to not only the heavy rainfall, but it's also thanks to the lakes coming on up. So let me leave you with this really quick. Whether you're in the Tangipahoa, up around Amite, you've got the down by Covington, the Chifuncta, the Tangipahoa, the Bogafalaya, the Boguachita. Really, the main ones that are going to be affected by the surge, the Bogafalaya, the Chifuncta, and the Tangipahoa, they're getting backed up because of the surge. So we're expecting all these to crest somewhere in the major flood stage. Doesn't look like any are going to be records like what we saw back in our major floods in 2016. But overall, we will be looking at our rivers continuing to rise, and they are rising right now on the North Shore.
All right, thank you very much, Peyton.
It was a rough Sunday, another August 29th that we'll never forget, with Hurricane Ida leading to an even rougher Monday morning for local people. Some people trapped, some people still assessing the damage, and it's overnight, Sheba.
Yeah, you have so many people who don't have power right now, more than 800,000 across the state. Many have seen flood damage at their homes. Let's get over to Jade Cunningham with some things you need to know.
What you need to know as heavy rain is still being dumped by Hurricane Ida. St. Charles Parish recently notified us their EOC phone lines are down due to the storm. In the event of an emergency, residents should call 911. If you need to report something to the EOC or Public Works, you can email it to help at stcharlesgov.net. Entergy is reporting they have more than 846,000 customers without power. This includes nearly 180,000 customers in Orleans Parish alone. Jefferson Parish has the most outages in the state, though, with just over 200,000. Remember to also keep your fridge and freezer closed, as this will help keep the cool air locked in and will help your food stay good for just a little bit longer. The Louisiana National Guard is activated and ready to help in Ida recovery. The Guard has activated 4,900 guardsmen, staged 195 high-water vehicles, 73 rescue boats, and 34 helicopters. Arkansas Governor Asa Hutchinson announced he has authorized both civilian and National Guard resources from Arkansas to support the emergency recovery efforts here in Louisiana. And Kenner Mayor Ben Zahn told us about an hour ago emergency crews will begin assessing damage around this time. We will bring you an update when we learn more. You can follow our coverage of Hurricane Ida on our website and on our free WWL-TV mobile app.
All right, thank you so much, Jade. And we always tell you guys when we're going through a storm like this, it's always helpful, if you can do so safely, to send us your videos and pictures. So we want to take a look at some that we've gotten from around the area this morning. This is a time lapse of the storm as it was in the Thibodaux area earlier yesterday. And just take a look there. The impacts of the wind and the rain, which is what most people in the area were dealing with for hours, and some still dealing with right now. We're expecting widespread damage in Thibodaux. Again, waiting for the sun to come up for our crews to go out around the region and assess the damage. And look at that wind blowing, jeez. Let's take a look. This is in St. Charles Parish. And a woman describes the problems with a home as a roof was destroyed and her home is soaked with rain and water. Yeah, again, you just see that wind moving through the area, which is what's led to a lot of these power outages that we've been talking about. Remember, there's more than 840,000 Entergy Louisiana customers without power. St. Charles Parish specifically, they have 20,000 without power right now. Chris Franklin was just telling us it wasn't really the rain, it was the wind of the storm surge that caused so much damage. Just look at the wind there. And then, of course, yeah, the river parishes did get that storm surge coming off Lake Pontchartrain. This next video shows the wind Sunday afternoon in the Leland area. We'll get to it in just a second. And I think moving to La Plaza, just from our coverage heading into the storm, I didn't expect them to get such widespread damage. There's a lot of damage in La Plaza, a lot of people trapped there, a lot of emergency situations going on there that will continue to follow throughout the morning. Yeah, we'd spoken with Jacqueline Hotar, the parish president in St. John, about that area before the storm. She was nervous, and yes, they do have some folks that need to be rescued there. All right, we are going to take a break, but we're going to continue our coverage of Hurricane Ida after. Stay with us.
The local weather experts are tracking Ida.
Using the latest technology for the most accurate forecast. And bringing you the information you need to stay safe.
No matter how you walk or where you are, we're here for you.
Get the latest updates on the tropics directly to your phone. Text STORM to 504-529-4444 for your local weather expert tropical forecast and details you need to know from the Eyewitness News.
What message did you hear this time? Safe drivers can save using Snapshot.
What Snapshot?
What's the commercial about?
I told the commercials out.
Yeah, me too. They're always like, blah, blah, blah.
Tell me about it. I'm going to a silent retreat next weekend.
Your niece got kicked out of Windows.
For talking?
Grand larceny.
How about we get back in saving?
Yeah, I would like to talk about that.
Okay.
Terminus.
locally owned and operated. We've been protecting homes from termites for over 70 years, serving the North Shore, South Shore, and river parishes. Leave the lights on for termites, and we'll find the termites. Call us today.
The Rooms to Go Labor Day sale is going on now, and this is a great time to buy. We have the furniture you want on sale. Living rooms, bedrooms, dining rooms, and more. Shop online or in store and get huge savings on a huge selection. Ready to go with fast delivery. Plus, with 60-month interest-free financing, buying is even easier. Don't wait. The Rooms to Go Labor Day sale is going on now.
You know the saying, life is uncertain, have dessert first? Must be the thinking behind the new Atkins dessert bars. 3 rich, amazing recipes. The lemon tart, like crazy good. And 1 gram of sugar. So, anyone for dessert?
There are many signs to help protect us from harm. To warn us from harming ourselves. Or prevent us from harming others. But sometimes the best sign is the one that protects you from things you never knew or even thought would hurt you. Egan Insurance, the sign of quality insurance protection since 1954.
All right, guys, and we are keeping track of all the impacts from Hurricane Ida and, of course, the storm effects that are still taking place. We want to show you some security video that was capturing the storm surge in St. Bernard Parish, which, of course, we've been talking to our meteorologists saying that the wind and the storm surge, not so much the rain, have been the issues with Ida. And just take a look here. This is at the Delacroix Fire Station. Wow, and the St. Bernard Parish government shared that footage on social media from fire station number 12 in Delacroix. The video shows the multiple before and after clips within a 1-hour time span around noon. Several clips show dry land, and that becomes nearly unrecognizable due to storm surge. Hurricane Ida blasted ashore along the Louisiana coast as one of the most powerful storms to ever hit the United States, rushing water into New Orleans and one of the nation's most important industrial corridors. As you can see, if we could keep playing this video, wow, you could see some of those, I guess they were maybe like boat docks and then just completely. We will see so many impacts from this, and again, continue to send videos and pictures when it's safe to do so. Of course, another big story out of St. Bernard Parish, those 22 barges loose in the Mississippi River. They're worried about the impacts there to the water intake system and to oil refineries, but 22 boats. I mean, we're not going to get the clearest picture of this devastation, of course, until daybreak, and we're already hearing so much devastation in so many areas. And I know people are wondering what those barges that are just loose are going to run into. Levees, damage anything like that. And St. Bernard, of course, I mean, the storm surge is always just such a major concern. I'm anxious to get over to Peyton and kind of see some of the storm surge numbers. I think they're just kind of still coming in. Chris Franklin was mentioning earlier, and just the wind, it's just completely unbelievable.
It does take some time here with our storm surge evaluation. If you remember Laura last year, a lot of people were thinking, oh, well, Laura didn't produce the storm surge we were expecting, and it takes time because the hardest hit areas or the most significant storm surge was. Think about Grand Isle. We're not going to have a really good reading probably until they go down there and they will actually look at the water level on structures, and that will give us definite answers on how high the storm surge actually was. So
that could take days.
That could take weeks and months because you got to think how difficult is it going to be to get down there. Is there anything left of LA1 through getting to Grand Isle right now? We don't know. And that's the thing about these hardest hit areas is you generally don't have a whole lot of information coming out of them immediately after the storm because we don't have eyes down there, or we can't get down there to see it, or we can't hear from the people because the cell service is down. I don't have cell phone service right now.
And it's still dark outside.
Yeah, it's only midnight. I was waking up and I was thinking, it's midnight. It's not 3, 4, 5.
Right. A lot of people, if they can, are getting some rest right now. It's not the best time, for people to be outside kind of reporting any damage they did experience. So let's get the latest on where Ida is and what impacts we're still expecting to feel from it.
Yeah, so one thing we're really still seeing here on the South Shore, and I got to go through zones here. There are about 5 different areas in our area that I like to talk about. North Shore, South Shore, Bayou parishes, river parishes, and then Mississippi.
Okay.
So we all felt different impacts there. So hang here with me. We're going to go through them all.
Great.
Let's start with the South Shore here in New Orleans really quick. We're still going to see gusty winds today. It is tonight and through tomorrow. So we've still got winds gusting upwards of 40 miles per hour. We're gusting nearly 50 right now at the airport. It's still very breezy. All right. It's we don't technically have tropical storm conditions anymore, but it is still very, very windy. On the North Shore, the winds are a bit stronger, especially near Hammond and up through Tangipahoa, but unfortunately, our sites have stopped reporting, so I'm going to have to go try to find some new sites that are reporting winds. So the South Shore, rain has really come through. And North Shore, you're still getting the rain, you're still getting the wind. That's going to continue probably for the rest of the overnight hours into sunrise tomorrow. So we still got a ways to go here on the North Shore with regard to wind. That wind is now out of the south, so wind is now pushing up into the North Shore on the lake. And so that means the rivers are currently rising, and they're going to continue to rise more than likely through the rest of the overnight hours. You're getting rain topped on top of those rivers. The rivers are coming out this way. They're also coming down on this side. So that only enhances it when you've got the rivers trying to drain into a flooded lake. Now, along the coastal areas, you've still got a strong southerly wind. The winds are not nearly as strong as they were. They're not dangerous anymore, really. They're gusting to 20, 30, 40 miles an hour in some spots. But we're not looking at our 100 to 120 mile per hour winds anymore. So that is over for the bayou parishes and going down along our coast. But the water is going to stay high down here in lower Lafitte. Jean Lafitte and Lafitte, you've got a strong southerly wind pushing up. Barataria Bay. Here on the west bank of Plaquemine, you've got water pushing up into the bank there. But on the east bank, the water's pushing away from you. So maybe you're seeing a little bit of relief down the east bank. Up in Shell Beach, the water's now pushing out into Lake Bourne. And over in Mississippi, your water's going to stay high. You've got wind still pushing up. So surge and tides are going to remain pretty high near our coast and on the North Shore through the rest of your Monday, all the way through tonight and all the way through Monday as Ida lifts away. So Ida is here, and I'm going to give you the latest on Ida right here in a second. It is up around the Livingston, at least the center of it's around Livingston Parish and going up into St. Helena Parish. And you can see the track of it is expected to be here right along I-55. But we are still seeing a lot of heavy rainfall all the way from the lake up through Tangi. We got a lot of heavy rainfall for Washington Parish. That's going to continue for the next probably 4 or 5 hours. And you've got a lot of rainfall in St. Tammany with some breaks in there. But overall, most of this is still on the North Shore. Now notice on the South Shore, we're just not seeing much in the way of rainfall anymore. There's still some showers around. It is certainly breezy, but the heaviest of the rain is from the lake and to the north. Now, something else we'll be watching through the rest of tonight and tomorrow is as Ida lifts to the north, we may get this little tail of moisture here with it, kind of trying to swing up over parts of our area, and that can dump some heavy rainfall. That should be isolated wherever that sets up. I don't think it's going to be a widespread issue for everyone, but there is still a potential we see some heavy rain on the South Shore by your Monday or through your Monday. So do keep that in mind as you have to get out and about and do things. It's going to be breezy tomorrow, wind gusting 30, 40 miles an hour, and of course we could see some rainfall as well. So that is definitely something to be mindful of if you've got to be out in this. And of course, as we get our bearings straight over the next couple of days and get things back and start recovery. So that's what we're looking at. Now, it is going to be hot. It is going to be humid over the coming days. There's no surprise there. It's August, and we're at the August 30th now. So it is going to be hot and humid, and we're going to have your normal August weather, what you expect after a hurricane. Unfortunately, this is not a late season storm where we're going to have a nice cold front coming on through anytime soon. So don't expect that. Now, we were talking about the winds here. They've really slacked off in the metro area as well, but we're still seeing some pretty strong wind gusts compared to what we saw last night or even a couple of hours ago. It's not like that, but we're still gusting to 48 at MSY. We're still gusting to 39 at the lakefront, and these are going to be southerly winds, so this is pushing water out into the lake, and that's why we're seeing that problem more so on the North Shore. So now our attention turns to the flooding and the flooding on the North Shore rivers, and we're going to hopefully, I'm going to get some of those numbers together for you, but right now, just to give you an idea on where these rivers are currently forecast to crest, we're forecasting the Tangipahoa to crest in a major flood stage as you get down in lower Tangipahoa Parish. That water is going to stay very high down in, especially down towards Highway 22 in lower Tangi. South of Ponchatoula, going towards the lake, the water is still very high down there. The water is going to remain high along the lakefront in Mandeville, Madisonville, all the way through Lacombe, and the entire North Shore lakefront is going to be high for the rest of today and even through tonight and through the rest of your Monday. The Bogafly is going to be cresting near a major flood stage near Folsom. The Covington the Chifuncta is going to be cresting near major flood stage. We've got these are pretty close to the Camp Covington and Boston Street locations. Those will be in the upper range of moderate, so they'll be close to major flood stage. And then the Bush and the Bogue Chitto, or the Bogue Chitto near Bush, is going to be more of a minor. So the impacts on the Bogue Chitto aren't as great because it runs into the Pearl River rather than the lake. So that's why our rivers like the Tangipahoa, the Bogafly, and the Chifuncta are going to see more significant impacts from flooding, and they are currently rising across the North Shore.
Yeah, so for people who are at home and they hear the word, take us through what cresting means. So it's going to crest above flood stage, flood, and then the river will go back down.
Right, it's going to take some time though, because this isn't just flooding from the rainfall, which there has been some pretty high rain totals, and it's hard to say during a landfalling tropical system. Sometimes either the radar can underestimate or your gauges don't do great because the wind's blowing so hard that maybe the rain gauge can't actually capture the rain that's falling. So it's hard to say, but we did see some heavy rain, no doubt about it. More so, the flooding problem right now on the North Shore is going to be the lake backing up. So we've got the strong southerly wind that's keeping the rivers pushed up in themselves, basically. So, and then you got the rain falling on top. That only adds to the river problems on the North Shore. So if you live in a flood-prone area on any of those rivers in Tangipahoa, St. Tammany Parish, you're likely going to see flooding. It's already started in quite a few spots, and it's going to continue to rise through the rest of today. And it may not be until Tuesday or Wednesday before we really start to see big improvements on those rivers.
A lot about what this storm would look like when it made landfall. Did it look like what we were anticipating?
You know, it's one of those things. It's kind of shocking what we dealt with, but it is. It was an intensifying. At one point, you know, we were saying this could really blow up into something big, and it did. The slow movement of it, I think, has surprised a lot of people. And I think a lot of our minds were thinking, okay, maybe this will be a 6-hour event, and it wasn't. It was, you know, some areas saw conditions pretty rough for like 12 hours, and that's just a system moving, you know, now 9 miles an hour. So it's not moving very fast, but it is still moving. It's not going to stall out. It's going to eventually get pulled up by a trough later on today, and that will pull it up to Jackson. But overall, the intensity, yes, this is tied as the strongest hurricane to ever make landfall in Louisiana. It's tied with Laura now. Laura made landfall last year in Lake Charles area as a 150-mile-per-hour hurricane. This made landfall in southeast Louisiana, of course, as a 150-mile-per-hour Category 4 hurricane. And then there was also another 150-mile-per-hour hurricane long time ago, and that was, so those are the 3 strongest storms we've ever seen in Louisiana. So certainly no one here, at least in recent memory, has gone through a significant storm like this with regard to 150-mile-per-hour wind. Of course, we've had worse surge and things like that, but yeah, for some areas they definitely got hammered.
It did stay a 4 longer on land than we anticipated as well, right?
Yeah, this is one of those things that in Louisiana we've got our marshes, right? And they call it the
first line of defense.
Well, that it's got a name. But essentially what happens here is as the hurricane moves over inland areas, there's still enough moisture in the ground, which is the marsh, so it's not really like land, so it really doesn't disrupt it at all. So the storm didn't really get disrupted until it got up into the middle of Lafourche and got up to the Laplace area.
Wow.
And that's where we finally started to see that eye weaken, and then it continued to weaken, and now it is a Category 1. So it stayed a hurricane. It made landfall at noon yesterday, and it's still a hurricane. We're 12 hours later, and it is still it's gone from a Cat 4, strong Cat 4, to now an 85-mile-per-hour Category 1. So it is still weakening, but it is still a hurricane.
Do you have a look at the actual track? I mean, it was pretty close to what you guys, you kept saying it might jog a little bit. Did it?
It did actually. So it slowed down, and it'll take some reanalysis to go back here and figure out why exactly it did what it did. But the track was a little bit further to the east, and we saw some of those winds and that core of those stronger winds get close to the New Orleans Metro and out into the river parishes here. And that's one thing we talked about, and it was a scenario that could happen, and that is certainly what happened. So it's traveled. It made landfall in Port Fourchon, and originally we had said it was going to go up through about Houma, Thibodaux, and up to Baton Rouge. and currently it's sitting about here. So it did stay to the west or east of Baton Rouge, and Baton Rouge honestly missed out on the most significant part of this storm, which is great for them and anyone who decided to evacuate up there. Hopefully you have power and you didn't lose any. It's still gusty up there, but they definitely didn't see the worst of it. And so it traveled more like from Port Fourchon. The eye went right over Raceland. The eye also went right over kind of the Laplace area, and then it moved straight north. So instead of being here, it was about here. So there was a pretty big distance there on where the eye ended up going, and that meant that axis of strongest winds did get closer to the New Orleans metro, and it did get into the North Shore. More Leslie.
Thank you. All right, guys, we do want to check in on St. Tammany Parish now. Thank you very much, Peggy. Michael Vincento is joining us on the line right now. Michael, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, kind of tell us the situation there and what you guys are watching.
Well, we're still experiencing the effect of Hurricane Ida right now. We had a kind of a brief lull, I guess, and not many strong winds or rain in the Covington area, but it really has picked up again within the last 30 minutes or an hour or so. But I'd say for the past 6 hours or so, we've been dealing with some heavy rain and heavy wind, and it's caused some pretty significant impacts here in St. Tammany Parish, and specifically here at the EOC in the Covington area where we're at. It's hard to tell because it was so late in the day when Ida got to us, where we could see the impacts. It became dark so fast, and nightfall happened. So we're really going to have to wait until the morning to see, how significant the devastation really is.
Definitely. Are you getting reports, though, of people telling you about damage or anything that they encountered during the storm?
Yes, we have gotten quite a few reports of trees on homes and, some roofs sustaining some damage, the wind ripping the roof off, specifically in one retirement community in the Mandeville area that I believe Erica Ferrando was telling you all about earlier in the evening. So we do have quite a few reports, but I don't believe that that is nearly as many as it will be tomorrow when we get out there and we get a chance to see, once the sun rises and the reality that we're facing.
So at this point, it seems like there's more wind damage than damage from the rain.
Yes. And I would say our primary concern going into yesterday, just a few hours ago, was the storm surge in our coastal communities and the wind, the high wind. In St. Tammany Parish, we have an awful lot of trees, and specifically those tall pine trees that can snap so quickly. And again, just our primary concern was the wind and knocking down trees and putting trees onto homes and in the road. And of course, our coastal communities that, deal with flooding, unfortunately, frequently.
Yeah, have you had any reports on that? Like, how is the Mandeville lakefront? Some of those places that we do know flood every time it rains.
Well, when it started to come over the seawall there, we saw some early reports, that it was getting onto Lakeshore Drive right there, facing the lakefront. So we knew there was water there, but unfortunately, as I mentioned before, it started to get dark outside, and as Mayor Madden said yesterday, they wanted people to stay away from the Mandeville lakefront. So we really haven't seen many pictures yet. Obviously, we know that the water has backed up, and it is into the community there, like it often does. And I'm sure that it's only magnified with the strength of a storm like Ida. And I keep reiterating, and it's just we're going to have to wait until tomorrow to get out there and to see. And our crews have been placed all throughout the parish strategically to get out there, especially with Public Works and our utilities departments, to go tackle some of these problems and try to make our parish safe again for our folks who evacuated to come home, and for our folks who stayed to be able to live normal life again.
Yeah, one of the biggest inconveniences to people living normal life right now, Tammany Utilities customers are under a boil water advisory, one of several advisories we're watching across the area right now.
Yeah, and that is a precautionary advisory because of the power outages that we face. It caused some of the water pressure to drop and you lose some of that power. So we thought it was the best decision. President Cooper thought it was the best decision to, order that precautionary advisory so folks can boil the water just to be safe. And I feel like that's something that a lot of parishes here in Louisiana are going to be dealing with now and into the next few days, because with the inundation of the amount of tests and results that you have to wait to get back from the State Department of Health, that could take several days. So we're just asking our neighbors to please be patient if they are a Tammany utility customer.
And as far as electricity, we did hear President Cooper's message before the storm hit yesterday's press conference, and he did say that you guys had people on standby to get out there and start fixing all the electrical problems as soon as the storm moves through and it's daylight and people can see. What kind of timetable do you have for that?
It could be several days. We have 3 providers for electricity for power here in St. Tammany Parish, being Clico, Entergy, and Washington St. Tammany Electric, and with Clico being one of the biggest, and I think they have something like 99% of their customers are without power tonight at this moment. So it's going to take some time. You know, I'm sure we have down power lines and down trees, and it's going to take some time for those crews not only to be able to get onto the road safely, but then to clear the road and address the actual issue of getting power lines back up and making sure things are safe again.
And what's your shelter situation? Did a lot of people come?
Not nearly as many as we thought initially. We have 2 shelters, one on each side of the parish, at Creekside and then at Lee Road Junior High in the western portion of the parish. And I think the last time I heard there was maybe a dozen or 2 people there. I don't know if the storm, once it worsened, if that increased the number of people that were there, but it was not nearly as many as we initially thought would use that.
Okay, and then the reports of trees on homes. Do you have emergency crews going out to help people right now?
At last check, I believe the emergency crews suspended their operations until they could. I do know that the Mandeville Fire Department went and assisted that retirement community in the Mandeville area, as again Erica spoke about just a few hours ago. But I believe they're trying to keep services at a minimum to make sure that the firefighters and police officers and all first responders are safe.
And you've been mentioning those power outages. I wanted to pull up some exact numbers while we had you. St. Tammany outages through Entergy. Right now we have about 3,600 without power. Clico has about 400 without power. I haven't checked in on Washington St. Tammany power right now. But for folks right now who are dealing with the boil water advisory and the power outages, what are you just telling people? Because I think a lot of people stayed as much as we gave them warnings, thinking that they would be just fine, and now you've got a lot of inconveniences to deal with that could last several days.
You know, and I know it's a tough ask of people because these are extremely difficult times, so please try to be patient with us. We can assure you that we are going to be working as fast as we can with all of our utility providers and anyone that we can work with, our essential personnel, to try to make sure that we get our parish back up and running, you know, efficiently and safely as soon as possible. We know our citizens are going to want to report damages or whatever they may need to us, and we want to be able to assist our citizens, and we're going to do so, but of course when it's safe for our employees, but also safe for our citizens.
And before we let you go, once again, you said you were in Covington. What is the condition like right there? Or what are the conditions like right now?
We had a bit of a lull, but it has intensified maybe in the past 30 minutes or so, and we could hear some strong wind gusts and some rain. We are definitely not out of Ida just yet. I think it's something that we're going to be facing for the next several hours until the severe impacts are truly gone. So in the Covington area right now, and I believe in most of St. Tammany Parish, we're still feeling the strong wind and the rain.
All right, Michael Vincento with St. Tammany Parish, thank you so much for joining us.
We have to take a quick break. We'll be right back, guys.
There are many signs to help protect us from harm, to warn us from harming ourselves, or prevent us from harming others. But sometimes the best sign is the one that protects you from things you never knew or even thought would hurt you. Egan Insurance, the sign of quality insurance protection since 1954.
You know the saying, life is uncertain, have dessert first? Must be the thinking behind the new Atkins dessert bars. 3 rich, amazing recipes, the lemon tart, like crazy good.
That's why our expert staff is here to help.
I've been selling new Ford cars and trucks since 1970. That's over 50 years. There must be a reason.
Some have a need for speed. Ford's new Mustang is just what the doctor ordered.
Wow, there must be a reason.
With your lifestyle and budget in mind, our finance team works hard to be the best in the business.
With over 15 acres of cars and trucks right here at the Mohawk Automotive
protecting homes from termites for over 70 years, serving the North Shore, South Shore, and the river parishes. Leave the lights on for Terminex, and we'll find the termites. Call us today.
Hi folks, Joe Namath here, and if you're on Medicare, this is important. You're now entitled to eliminate copays and get dental care, dentures, eyeglasses, prescription coverage, in-home aid, unlimited transportation, and home-delivered meals, all at no additional cost. Plus, your zip code may have coverage with the Give Back benefit